Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me. This is
What's
great.
up, man?
Oh, I'm glad to have you. I've been listening to your voice for the last few days. I went back all the way to like episode 1 of your podcast because I wanted to know what like pre-pandemic world-saving podcast sounded like.
The
Because
cocaine years.
yeah, exactly. The years we're recovering from those.
Yeah, exactly. The years that we forget, we try to forget, but it's on podcast form. Your life is basically on podcast form now. So I get to,
Do you
my
ever
mother
feel like
reminds
that?
me of it all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom listens to every podcast. So she's like half like she finally getting to know who I am, but also scared of me.
Is it a good sign that your parents are learning about you through your podcast?
Yeah, because when I was a kid, all I cared about was business, and my parents were older. They had me when they're a bit older, and I had two sisters, so they're kind of done with parenting a little bit. So I was like, kind of like raising myself a hair, and I grew up in LA, so I fell in love with the music industry. So I got my first job when I was like 14 years old at Drive Through Records. So I just been working. I worked all day. I still work all day. That's what I love to do. But when I was in high school, I convinced my principal to get me out of school like 1 p.m. so I could pretend I'm 18 years old to work at this record label. So
Yes.
I've been working since I was like, 8 p.m. every day. My parents were like, thank God he's not doing drugs or,
How'd that go for them?
it went pretty good because I was pretty straight laced until I found, about the jam scene and like Grateful Dead and stuff. I'm like, these guys are all doing this stuff influenced. I'm like, hell yeah, this sounds like a party.
I want to try. So you started touring at like 19, is that right?
Yeah, I started playing music when I was 19 and like 18. It was like my senior year in high school. I was like, I wanted to try. I was like kind of over the music industry. I was like, it was like right when like Napster and LimeWire hit. So they fired all the young guys there thinking digital. We didn't understand digital marketing when we were the ones stealing all the music when we were kids. But whatever, they fired us. All right, fine. Keep the jobs.
We'll go do it ourselves. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna be a musician and learn and take the business side I learned from working at record labels and booking agencies and take that into songwriting myself. So I knew the business side. I just booked myself. And 19, yeah, I started touring. Like I started doing 250 shows a year when I was 19. Yeah.
What was that like to be around? We'll go into more of that side later, but to be that young and on the road around all of that partying and drinking and likely drugs and all kinds of influences before you were even 21. How did that affect not just your touring life, but your music?
I mean, it sucked because I couldn't get into the bars. I'd have to like sit in the cars all day. Well, like I was Craigslisting musicians every night because I didn't have a band yet. So I was driving my van to each city and I'd like book a show. I'll say like in Kansas or something. I'd cold call, fake my name. So I was Drew Mitchell, Frasco or whatever, Drew Mitchell because it wasn't cool to represent yourself. It still isn't, I guess, but that's lame. You should
getting cooler.
Yeah, it's getting cooler. And yeah, I was booking myself and I had to hire musicians in every city. I did like the Chuck Berry thing where he would just show up in town and I'd have like these 3-chord songs because that's all I knew was these 3 chords in C. And I'd just play like 3 hours of music and just like use and just, talk shit and stuff. And for the first 2 years, I couldn't drink or anything. So I was hyper focused. I was on MapQuest. That was when MapQuest was the thing. So I'm looking at the map, I'm driving, sleeping in the car, maybe, hook up with a girl or whatever, so I could have a place to sleep. It was just vagabond life. And, I that's when I fell in love with it because I felt safe. Even when I was sleeping in a gas station parking lot by myself, I felt safe. And I think it was because I was, attempting to follow my dreams, which was, be in the music industry.
So at what point would you say it stopped feeling like you were following your dreams and, a workaholic and became more influenced by the road and taken outside of what sounds like a comfortable place for you?
In what way? Like drugs or like?
Yeah, I guess is my, I've heard
I
a
think
lot of
later
your
in life-
recovery stories, but then I hear like if did it burn you out? Was there a point where you kind of hit a transition, or did you not even notice the transition?
No, because I was just I like drinking. I didn't really like do blow every day. That wasn't my thing because I was already so hyper. That just made me neurotic and horny. And it's like I couldn't work. You know, it's like cocaine is a weird drug. I can't focus on when I'm on cocaine unless I'm like cleaning the house or something, or like doing something, you know,
not creative.
Yeah, not creative on that. But what really opened my brain was when I started taking psilocybin mushrooms, and I was burnt out from the road. I was drinking every night. I was playing shows at all these clubs, and just I didn't see any end to just doing this Groundhog Day, playing at clubs till 3 a.m., blacking out and waking up at 7 to drive 8 hours to the next city. You know, it was just a Groundhog Day, and I just started getting burnt out, and I realized I wasn't doing it for the music anymore. I was doing it for the party, and it just put me in a bad spell because why am I working so hard if I'm just partying all the time? It just didn't make any sense to me because I need to work and I need to feel complete or fulfillment through the process of my work. Or even if it's like step by step, my career is going step by step. I need to see it going step by step. If I start like plateauing, I go crazy in my head. So I think that's what happened. So I cut down drinking and I cut down the Coke as much, you know, cold turkey that, but I wasn't doing it that much. And then I was depressed and I had to find a therapist, and I was on the road so much that it was just a pain in the, I couldn't talk about my therapy with my band, you know, because I'm about my band, you know, or whatever it is, you know, so I couldn't talk about them. So I went into psilocybin and I realized I was just sheltered, and I was finally I was always a closed book. And that's why I was working so much, because I was just suppressing my feelings, that I finally took psilocybin to finally talk about all the things that why I'm running away from life, you know, through work or whatever. And it really opened me up. And then I started writing songs because I was open. And, you know, I believe in like a vessel. Like, these aren't your songs. It's like this ether thing that shines a light on you, like abduction. It's like an alien. And they go, we're going to talk about heartbreak. We're going to talk about optimism. And I finally woke up and I finally felt the light. And I feel like I've been writing my best songs ever since. You know, that was like 6 years ago.
So when did it go from you're on the road hiring bands to having the UN and having this band that is, oh dear God, so good? Like,
thanks, man. Yeah, they're the best. It took like 3 years. I was traveling.
That's it?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I was doing, I mean, in 3 years, I did 630 shows.
Fair.
So I had
fair, but still,
73-year-old drummers and 19-year-old bass players. It was just a mess. It was just so funny. And as I look back at it, and then the first guy I found was my sax player, Ernie, at a Starbucks parking lot. He was just like playing acoustic and like reading Shakespeare. He was like totally a theater kid. And I'm like, this sounds cool. So I started smoking some cigarettes with him, drinking some coffee for like 4 hours. 4 hours turned 3 days in a row of hanging out. You know, I would just stay in these towns because I didn't have a gig till Tuesday. So I would just stay in LA or stay in Springfield or just like Bill Murray the whole thing. And I met Ernie. I'm like, I'm leaving tomorrow if you want to come with me. He quit his job. So now I have 2 guys in the band. And then we drove to Springfield like 4 months later. And our guitar player at the time, well, like my regional guitar player, Corey, couldn't make it. So we brought Sean over. He's like, hey, this guy can fill in for you, no problem. So I'm like, all right, cool. It's a Wednesday. Who cares? And he showed up and he's killing it. And I'm like, oh my God. So I asked him, I'm like, I'm going on, we're keep on going. So he came on the roads and now we have 3 guys. And then I shuffled through a couple drummers, and then I went on, then I met Andy Avila and my drummer off Craigslist. And he lied to me. He said he graduated from USC. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, smart guy. But he was like University of South Compton. I'm like, oh, you got me bad. And
so he was smart.
He was smart.
Yeah. Sounds all right.
He joined the road.
Streetwise.
Yeah. And then I got Floyd. We found Floyd in Nantucket, Massachusetts, about 7 years ago. And Chris, we found 10 years ago when Darren Chris, Glee. He got fired from Glee. And I'm like, oh yeah, come in my band. So I have the curse. When I was in LA, my curse was all my drummers and bass players would just join Disney bands, like Selena Gomez. I was like, it was a curse. I'm like, God damn
it. Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys, your record. I mean, I've watched some footage of your live shows. I haven't seen you live personally, which I will. But your records are freaking tastic, and I love as I was going through some of the info on you, the discussion of playing blues rock, open-ended blues rock with a disregard for the rules. What does that mean to you?
Disregard the rules. I mean, I didn't know any rules in the first place. I never went to music school. I didn't even know what the blues were until I spent like 3 weeks on a farm in Iowa, and the farmer was like, you should listen to like Taj Mahal and like you should listen to like Dr. John. I'm like, because I was an emo kid growing up, so all I knew was like, yeah, Taking Back Sunday, Real Big Fish. Like, yeah, let's go. They're like, you want to be a blues player, but you don't know one blues band. I was like, okay, that's a good idea. I should probably learn the blues. So I fell in love with like Dr. John, Van Morrison, the band. And that's when I started finding my sound, because I was like, oh, this music exists. It's not just in my head. Because I don't know if you have dreams when you're like 6th grade or 4th grade, you still like, I had this dream that I'd be in a blues band. I was like, or like a band that was just like rowdy and just throwing bottles at us, and we have chicken wire everywhere.
Yeah, some Blues Brothers stuff.
Style. I thought I was gonna be in a band like that, and I was like, I don't know, because I don't know, a lot of pop punk bands don't really have piano based bands besides something corporate or something. And
right.
I was like, I'll be a blues piano player. I'll be like Jerry Lee Lewis. I was like, yeah, I'll light that shit on fire and jump in the crowd and sign babies and shit. It was like I did everything. I've done everything that dream told me to do. So I'm stoked on it.
I cannot wait to see you live, man.
Oh man, dude, you're in Colorado. We should kick it.
I know.
Bro. Beer.
I would love to. As the more I watch your stuff and the more I hear you sing and listen to your songs, the more I'm very curious in the crossover from your musical life to your podcast. Can you talk a little bit about your podcast getting on Volume? I mean, that's a big deal. People don't know. Can we maybe start there? Will you talk a little bit about your partnership with Volume?
Yeah, I was stoked on it. I was like, I started doing the video. I knew like, because I'm a podcast addict. Like I love like sports podcasts. We'll talk about that Denver and Heat beef too in a little bit. But
man.
I loved like Michael Rappaport. I loved Howard Stern. I wanted to be a radio voice when I was a kid. Before I learned how to play music, I would just like sit in my house and just like, do those 15-minute teasers and stuff. and just in my room. My parents probably thought I was crazy. Like 88.5, this is Andy Frasco. We're out here going to be listening to Newfound Glory. Because I was like, just like a pop punk kid. And I just love that stuff. And then I just got busy with music. And then when I stopped, like, really partying as hard as I still party a little hard, but just at nighttime, but not partying during the day and stuff. I realized I had so much more free time in my hands and my brain was working. I was like, not just tired or just hungover. So I'm like, why don't I start a podcast? Because I was still going through my mental health. Like I had my first panic attack. I was like, I knew I had to fill myself with some substance, but I didn't want to like start like another side business or anything. So I was like, why don't I just talk to all my friends who have gone through this, who's gone through addiction, who's gone through, because, being in a band for so many years, I have all these like crazy musicians who have these crazy stories about fighting addiction and fighting their mental struggles, because being on the road is hard. And not a lot of people realize how hard it is to live in a coffee can. Your whole, I've lived in a coffee can, a van for 15 years, and I just don't know anything better. And so when you can't really relate to your mom, like you come home for Christmas and you're shaking from dehydration and being cold in the van. Like, if you don't want to tell your mom you're in a van, you already told her like you're kicking ass in life. So like, hey, yeah, mom, actually forgot to bring 2 blankets in the van, so I'm a little cold, whatever it is.
Right.
It's just part of the game. And
but now she listens to your podcast, so she knows.
Oh yeah, she listens to my podcast, she listens to my music. She's like my #1 fan. And and she supported me when I went on my first tour when I was 17. She said yes, and I think that's what changed my life. So I love the road, and a lot of people don't realize how hard the road is. So going back to talking about podcasts, not about me, Andy.
That's okay. This is fascinating.
I like them both. Yeah.
So I was talking. My first interview was Mike Dillon and Vince Herman and George Porter, and talking about, George Porter's in the meter who lost all his royalties. Like same thing you're talking about, the AI thing, that the new age stuff with, they're going to come after the musicians with the Spotify royalties and stuff too. So we could talk about that, I guess, too, in a little bit. But I want to talk to these dudes about addiction and mental health, and try to realize that I'm not effing crazy, that other people are going through this. And from that, now 200 interviews later, I'm starting to become like the Oprah of the jam scene or something. Everyone just like won't talk. They won't talk to their wives about it, but they'll like spill the tea with me. It's awesome.
Yeah, and for our listeners who aren't familiar with his podcast, check it out. I mean, just from your volume.com page, I see you've had Bootsy Collins on, which, oh, come on. That's ridiculous. Daniel Rateliff, Melissa Etheridge. I mean, Stevie Van Zandt, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
That was crazy. I mean, my mom loves Stevie. She was like, she's menopausal, and she was like getting wet over that interview. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
Well, and it's not all music either. Like you get to listen to them talk about things they can't talk. Well, they obviously can, but don't feel like they can, and open up. And I think that's huge.
And that's why I fell in love with the long form interview. On the radio, you only get 10 minutes with your favorite musicians. My goal is to spread it out and give them an hour of talking, so we could like actually get to it. Like everyone hears about your effing record or guitar solo that you did on track 6. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what you want to be. Let's talk about what hurts you, what struggles you have, and let's try to figure out how to do this thing together and live long lives. Because you see a lot of musicians who end their life too soon, and sometimes I think like maybe they just didn't have anyone to talk to about this, because this life is lonely. So we're all here together. So that's all I'm trying to do with this thing.
I love that. And I love the energy that you bring to all of them. I don't think I haven't listened to all of them, but I don't think I heard one episode where your guest wasn't laughing with you at some point. And that's a huge medicine too. You know what I mean? Like you have fun with them. It's a fun show to listen to.
This gig sucks, so hard. You get 2 hours of awesomeness. Everything else sucks. Yeah. We gotta laugh about it, It's just like, oh, you're away from your parents, you're away from your friends, family, your house, your dog for like 8 months. I don't have a dog. I don't have any of that. Maybe that's, but I see all my other friends who do that stuff, and it sucks for them. I hear you. So
you have a house now, I heard. Congratulations. So you got that to come home to.
I got a house. I can't afford it, so I've been Airbnb-ing it. So I just have. It always smells like someone else whenever I roll in here. But YOLO, let's go.
House or tour van, right?
It's basically the same thing.
Well, one moves, and you've decided to get a stationary one. So
and I love Denver. I love Denver, and I finally made a home. So I love it.
Andy, I think you've hit something that I can't recall ever being on the podcast before. That is a smart thing for a touring musician to do. Airbnb your place while you're on the road. Like, make that house make money for you.
Oh yeah, and like I do that with my van. I rent my van on Turo. I mean, I am for sale, people. I'm like Kiss. I'm like Gene Simmons up in here.
Well, now I'm interested. So when you are renting out your place as an Airbnb, are you using your music career and your podcast as a selling point? Is it like you get to stay at Andy Frasco's house and there's all this music related stuff, or is it just like you're Andy?
Please don't
rob
me.
All?
Is that
like right? I mean, I've got a very blank wall over here. It's off white, and I like it.
I think once a lot of my fans are partiers, so like sometimes I'm afraid for them to come to my house, and just screw it up. But no, it's like I keep it how it is. My Laker jerseys, all 100 Laker jerseys are in my room. In my
100.
I have
is that like a guesstimate, or like the exact number?
97 to be exact. I'm sick with it. Yeah, I'm sick with it. But
whatever, that's cool.
Oh, we got to get to 100 now. Yeah.
Some people like have a 401k. I got Laker jerseys. So let's go. But I just like keep my Red Rocks trophies up, and I make them feel like they're in my house. But I also don't want to like promote it. I just want, if they see it on Airbnb, then let's have a good time. But don't screw anything up. It's my house too. Like I've seen like big old dildos in here. It's wild. Like some stuff is wild. Like just like like, what the hell is going on in my house?
It's
But
like walking backstage and you're
yeah, but like
what?
I mean, then I think about like, what do I do in hotels? I'm like, oh
Right.
yeah, respect. It's just karma. It's just
What
karma.
happens when you walk backstage?
You
So how
wish.
did you get teamed
I
up
wish
with
backstage
Volume?
was that hip. Normally everyone's just looking at their phone or looking at their likes.
I never had the fun backstage moments, but I feel like I've walked in after them. Like I walk into rooms and I'm like, what happened here?
Oh yeah, you could smell it. Yeah, I hate when some of these venues they just smell like sticky.
Like something.
Just smells sticky.
I won't say a venue name on air, but I bet that you and I have played the same venue in the Denver area where the green room, you got to go down in this basement. And I'm like, you guys haven't washed this couch in 25 years.
Oh, you're probably talking about Cervantes.
That was not the one I was thinking of, but that one too.
But that too.
I love Cervantes.
That one is funny.
I love the filth.
Oh.
I love going in green rooms. Actually, I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I like smells and some rooms smell like old rock stars, like the old Fillmore in San Francisco. I'll go in there first and just smell it, and then I'll walk out just to see what's up.
I don't actually hang out in the green room.
No, I just smell it, because I have too many bandmates. There's gonna be 8 people in there, so I try to go. I like being by myself. Like I'll go in the van by myself before shows. I like pace. I'm like, I can't be with 8. I'm like a rat in a cage before a show. I'm like pacing.
Yeah.
Do you smell it before and after? Are you like, all right, what does it smell like before my band comes in and destroys everything?
Well, my senses are way better when I'm, not, drinking, acid like Jameson, and my sinuses are just like, I poured Jameson on myself sometimes and it gets in my eyes and my nasal and just like my nostrils burn. I'm like, I don't smell anything after a show ever. But when I do get my senses back, like during the day and I get the smell, I'm like, yeah. Hell yeah.
That was a night. That night happened.
Yeah. Oh, going back to Volume. The reason why I signed Volume, there it is. Okay, that's what we're talking about. You got to get me. See, it's late at night. I've been working since 6 a.m., so you got to get me straight and narrow. Volume.com. Yeah, they were like watching me for the last couple years, and I started getting bigger guests, and I think I just started like my interviewing skills got a little better. I was listening more. It wasn't just like over talking over people. So I think from there, they're like, yeah, we love the show. We think it's funny. It's like, because they could have signed like a big comedian. They could have signed a big musician. They signed me to help me grow, and like we're growing together. So I'm just stoked. I got like 3 cameras. I built a podcast studio in my house. So, the Airbnb seems like it's like an amateur porn room, but whatever. I take it all out before, but sometimes I forget, and it just legit looks like amateur porn in here. But and they're like, I love it. I'm the one who edits all the videos and edits all the sketches, and I'm like a one-man shop with my buddy Bo. So, it was easy and convenient. And they're like, yeah, we'll sign you for a year. And it's just been such a great partnership because I'm finally getting help because my band's getting big right now. And I just don't have enough brain capacity to do everything, like build the I used to cut the promos and cut the sketches. And, I did everything for this band. I'm still doing like the books and stuff and budgeting out each tour. But they're helping me with a lot of the weight. And I got to thank them for that. So shout out to Volume.
That's nice. Fantastic. And creating the content, you did not give yourself a pat on the back for that. Yeah. There's a lot of back end, but you're still creating all that content.
But I love it because people really care about the podcast, and they really care about what I have to say and what I'm doing with my life. And sometimes they're just watching the train wreck about to happen because they know sometimes when I get back on the bender, sometimes I'll have like a couple week bender sometimes, and they start feeling it on my Tuesday mornings or my Monday morning motivation. It's like, oh, he's back on the sauce, isn't he? So,
and you've been open about that, which is, has that been helpful towards your, I don't want to say sobriety, because I actually applaud the fact that you seem to have found that middle ground where it's not an all or nothing thing you can kind of normalize. But did that, I don't want to say help, does having that outlet for you get you back on track? Is it some form of accountability? Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, like you nailed it on the head. If you make yourself accountable and say, hey, everyone's going to screw up. Everyone's going to, you're going to get a curveball, you're going to get a heartbreak, or you're not going to get that job, or maybe your relationships in life you know, are not good, and you're gonna curve ball and maybe relapse for a couple of days. You got to like not beat yourself up about that, and just get back on the horse and fight again. Because a lot of people, you know, I get crapped on a lot for talking about publicly about my intake of alcohol and stuff, because I preach mental health and stuff. But for me, talking publicly about it is putting the work in. You know, if you're suppressing these feelings, and if you're suppressing and hiding all these things, then there's a problem. But if you could at least talk about it and say, listen, I'm gonna like not do as much, or I'm gonna still enjoy my life, and I'm still gonna have fun, or smoke a couple cigarettes or whatever. I smoke a lot. I actually smoke a lot of cigarettes, but everything else I'm like, don't really do that much anymore, because I have too much time on my hand. I mean, I have too much work to do to get all effed up all the time. You know, you got to put yourself accountable and say, listen, you're screwing up your liver, screwing up your lungs. What are you going to do about it? You're going to let that win, or are you going to get out there and fight? So every day I fight. So that's what I'm trying to do.
And it sounds like you're helping others fight as well, which is good, giving them a place to feel like they're not alone in that fight. There's more of us than we think.
You can't be honest with yourself. Who are you going to be honest with? You know?
Your therapist.
Yeah. Oh, true. What if the therapist is not there at 4 a.m.? You got to be stuck with that anxiety. Yeah. That's happened to me a couple of times for me, a little too many edibles, where I'm just locked in the, and, you know, I had to call my friend, like, I'm dying. My throat is dry. She's like, you were just high. Like,
what's happening?
Like, when you go through anxiety, it doesn't matter what triggers it. Then your body goes into warning attack mode, and then all your demons start coming out, and then you start getting freaked out. So like, we always gotta like work on ourselves, figure out how to way not to have panic attacks, figure out a way how to not have anxiety, and figure out a way to you know, be your body's buddy. Like, we can't be at fight with our body. That sounds horrible. You're always at fight with your body. Like, what you know, with your brain? I don't want to be in a fight with my brain all the time. It just sucks.
Well, learning to control those things, like at the onset of like a panic attack, and being able to corral your mind enough to where it doesn't go to that next level. Right? Like, you're able to get the tools in place so that you can stop it, or maybe even pull it back before it's off that deep end. And that's such a huge skill that takes,
a lot of people have to quit completely. A lot of people can't do that. And that's okay too. Yeah. I just know how I could control myself. I know I don't never take anything to the limit. You know, and when I do, I look myself in the mirror in the morning and said, just shake my head like, you're bigger than that. You're stronger than that. You know, go get them.
So the intro to each of your podcasts, for those of you that have not tuned into the World Saving Podcast, are these lovely little clips of somebody yelling at you for something.
My manager.
It changes regularly, but he's yelling at you for something.
Everyone's yelling at me. You know, my manager, my parents, my publicist. It's just like, God damn it, chill out, everyone. Got it under control.
Where did that come from? And are you curating that? I was just interested, is like, does that come out before you do any content? You're like, well, let's see what they're ripping on me for this week. Or are you guys you got to come up with something to rip on me for?
Yeah, no, they don't need any help. I deserve all of it. Yeah. But, they give my manager is this neurotic Jewish man from Denver. He's like, he manages a lot of like, like songwriter, like the Dawes and His Gold Messenger and all these bands who don't really get in trouble. They just, do their music, love their wives, and, get to dinner by 8 o'clock. They're not that guy.
Like Zach Sloan.
Yeah. Like Zach. Zach. Yeah. You're family man. Yeah.
Yeah. Come
I
hang
see
out
how
with Dear
clean that basement is. You are a family man, dog. I know you.
Yeah. Come see my band, Dear Marshall. Just see how clean cut we are.
You put it on the stage and then you get home by dinner.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad.
So yeah, he was always ripping me on. He just wants me to be more professional. I hear him, but sometimes these voicemails are so obnoxious that I make fake voicemails to rebuttal them. Like I'll call my comedian friend, just like, because if I say it, it's passive aggressive. But if I have a comedian say it, it's comedy. So I just always get my comedian friends just like to rip on him, I'm like,
he rips on you in shoe wearing quite often, which I can't see anything from this video, but if I go purely by his rants, he's not quite pleased with the fact that you seem to tour the world without shoes.
Yeah, I'm barefoot all the time. I don't know. My feet are so wide. My feet hurt with shoes. I'm like, they're claustrophobic. I got these like pterodactyl Fred Flintstone feet. I'm like, what do you want me to do, Schwartz? Like, I wear sandals because I can't fit into shoes. My feet are dehydrated. I eat too much sodium because I love Taco Bell. What do you want me to do? Like, really? I'm on the road. I'm living in gas stations. I'm bloated.
Do you think those messages are therapy for him? Is he just like, oh man, as long as I can get it out and say it, we'll laugh about it.
And he knows I'll
move
post
on.
about it. So everyone's accountable now. They're like, hey, if this guy croaks, you're all laughing at the effing joke. You know?
This is like on those early Eminem albums where there's like the interludes that's just his lawyer yelling at him. You can't put that on an album, Em.
Yeah, exactly.
So this week's guest has been Andy Frasco from the World Saving Podcast and Andy Frasco and the UN, which is a wonderful band we should all check out for. Before we let you go, we are going to ask you the same question we ask all of our guests. Do you have any tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Don't chase the rabbit's tail. And be unapologetically yourself, because no one wants to see a copycat. I mean, I know you love that band, or I know you love that artist, but like they did that. Go do something else. Go get out there and be yourself. You know, don't worry about writing music or making art because it's popular and we got to make money. Well, you'll eventually make money if it comes from your heart and it comes from your soul. And you have to work your ass off. You can't just do it half-ass. You have to do it 155%, or it's not going to work out. So get out there and show me what you're worth.
I love that.
I feel like a high school football coach sometimes. I'm like, guys, it's the fourth quarter. I know Jimmy's mom's hot and you're all looking at her in the stands, but I need you to step it up a little bit.
Where did you go to school?
I went to LA. It was like 5,000 people.
Everybody's mom was beautiful. They walked out of the course
hot.
and you was like, where are you going?
I'm like, everyone. I'm like, private school heaven. I'm like, oh my God, everyone is hot here. Everyone. And I'm just out here with it. Like a little Jewish afro. It was like 225 pounds at the time. I'm like, I ain't getting laid. No, I better be in a band or something because that's the only way I'm getting laid.
And that's how it starts for most of us.
Oh man, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you here, Andy. Don't be a stranger. Come back and visit us real soon.
Anytime. Yeah, I'm working, so I love to work more. So give me all the work.
Sweet,
I love it. All right, I'm going to be checking out more of your podcast, and hopefully we'll see more of the exciting things going on at volume.com. But again, thank you for your time, Andy, and we'll hopefully hear from you soon.
Yeah, Zach, hit me up. Let's throw down some beers. Yeah,
I want to see the music you two create. I didn't get to chat with you before about your journey around the country writing music, and I've got all these notes, and it'll save it for the next show. Now we have to have you back. Yeah. But I was like, now you got to get together with Zach Sloan because I want to see what the two of you create.
First, let's have a couple cocktails and get to know each other. Then we'll write some music.
That's how that's the best way to do it.
All right.
Yeah. Forget everything you learned. All right. Thank you, Andy. Have a good night.
Bye.